10 seconds.
Hey guys, welcome back from the View from the Deadbox. Same guys as last time, actually, your hosts. We actually had Jonathan on last time, and he has a little bit more time, so we kind of wanted to touch into another subject that's kind of been bothering me for many years now, especially as of recently. And I think it's kind of a elephant in the room subject that a lot of guys see and maybe not, they don't approach it, or maybe they just, it's an unwritten like taboo word or taboo thing, and they don't want to bring it up. Are paintball IDs a scam? Like, and
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
just the first thing. Scam?
I believe I understand why they're there, because you do need to prove who you are so you don't have players jumping in and out. But who doesn't have some sort of personal identification on them already? I mean, you got your driver's license. You should have, or if you don't, you're going to have a state ID. So
No,
when you go to check in,
it's not about that at all.
that.
It's absolutely not about that at all. It's about ranking system. That's all it's for.
But okay, why
But you could still be matched.
Yeah, you can have your name, Jonathan McCormick. Let me see your government issue ID, your military ID, your driver's license,
So,
your library card.
One thing, there's a couple reasons they do it, and I understand all the aspects of it. One, it's a money grab, 100%.
Oh,
Yes.
that's the biggest thing. And I'm not against having the APA ID, and I am not opposed to that at all. When I started playing, this is where the sport needs to go back to. One ID, guys, one ID. You buy an NXL ID or whoever. Maybe you buy the APPA ID.
ID.
Yeah,
APPA
because
ID
I don't want to buy the NXL ID and the money only goes to NXL. I do want to help out the MVPS. I want to help out the SPL. I want to help out all these other events that use these IDs. I want to give them their cut, right? But I don't want to buy 5 IDs. I play a lot of paintball. My wife plays a lot of paintball. Like, at the end of the year, I have to buy an MSXL ID, an NXL ID, an MVPS ID, an SPL ID. And that's just the 4 main leagues that I play. If I'm looking at $40 to $50 per ID, I'm spending $200. If I'm buying her ID, thank God she makes her own money, but I'm looking at $200. I'm spending $400 to $500 in IDs alone. Dude, that's
and some of them you may only play one event.
One event. Some guys only play cup. Why can't we buy a $60, $70, $80?
$100. Say $100 per season per ID.
And it gets every single event that the APPA can do. I can do.
I would agree.
You use APPA as your primary means of finding out ranking system, then boom, that money goes to the APPA and it's divvied out amongst, whatever MVPS decides to use at APPA. You get a little bit cut here, you get a little cut there. $100 a season, but it covers every single thing across California to Japan. If you use APPA, that's what you use. I agree 100%.
Because there's these events that only have, I don't know, 100 players or the NXL is just raking in the money, laughing, just like monopolizing everything. And that's how I see it on the back end. Is these dudes are playing cup only. I think last year, don't quote me on this, but I'm used to when their cup was around. There was 200 plus teams. I'm not really sure how many there were this year with all the divisions.
600 plus, I believe.
Yeah,
I'm not exact numbers either, but
we'll just say 500 teams.
I'll look it up.
You know what I mean? So, if we're at 500 teams, dude, they are plowing people for the money for one event, which I'm fine with. That's fine. But if we could make these IDs go for one series, like you buy it from APPA, and then all these big tournament series that, like, let's say the top, 50 series or 100 series, whatever the big ones are, they all get a slice of the pie. Give every single player who purchases an APPA ID, the MVPS gets $3 or $5 per player that buys that ID, right? And that's how it should be. So everybody gets a piece of the pie, man. Yeah. Everybody is getting the money. It only helps when the NXL is just raking in everybody's money, just laughing.
Well, not even the NXL. I mean, they are, but like in general, like you said, I mean, I don't want to bash any tournament series because most of them are run really well, but in general, to me, they're just overpriced.
Well,
I
yeah,
shouldn't. If you would just let me get, I mean, $100 for one, that's a real good idea too. But even if
because you're going to
whatever
spend
league
that.
needs their own, I'm going to end up spending anyway. But so if they want to just lower the price to them, let my
Yeah.
NXL one be 30 or my other one be 20 and 20 and 20 and
But
20.
that's how it used to be.
Yeah. Well, I remember.
Yeah, if you had
I
a
never paid
PSP
more
ID
40 for a
before,
while.
you had a PSP ID before, you could typically get into every
It
other
was $50.
series.
It was $50, and that ID worked for everybody. And then if you wanted my CFOA ID was $20, and my GFOA ID was $20, and my all you had to do was $20. And then if at the beginning of the season I'm like, dude, I know I'm going to play Cup. I have to have an NXL ID. I'm just going to buy the PSP back then. I'm just going to buy the PSP ID, and we're going to be good all the way through all the series. So we're good. We're covered. But the problem is those small events aren't getting the money, which leads me to think, why is the NXL charging $2,500 entry fee per team?
Yeah.
Like, are you out of your mind? There's teams, if they would drop the cost back, especially in nowadays economy, if they would drop the cost back of these NXL entries, you would have so many more teams come into play because the paint is at a great price. The paint is super cheap, right? Because they're getting it there from all the vendors. They have to like make do with everybody that's there.
Yep.
But I
take a guess real quick. How many teams played World Cup?
I think 650.
A little high.
A little high. Okay.
Is it 500?
Between 565 teams played World Cup.
Yeah.
I guarantee out of those 565 teams, obviously, a lot of those teams are mix-ups of other teams that are playing because there's multiple divisions, there's multiple different formats. So, I would say out of that, maybe 400 teams played World Cup, like prime.
Yeah, but even with the mixing of players around, and this,
so even if there's 200 of those 500 teams that were there, that was the only team the only event they played. You're talking about just roughly. So you're gonna say 200 times 7. Let's say 7 people.
Yeah.
1,400 people times 60. That's $85,000 the NXL made in IDs at World Cup. $85K one event.
Or in the wrong business.
Rough.
Oh yeah, I mean that's completely speculation on the numbers. But
$85K for an ID card that you use one time, you threw the trash.
Hey, hold on. Let's go a little bit deeper. You want your wife to come and hang out in the pits? Oh, sorry, dude. Gotta buy a $50.
Yeah.
What? She's not playing. She doesn't need ranking. She just needs to get back there to tote my gear because I've been outside in 110-degree weather and I don't feel like toting all my stuff by myself. Yeah, it's gonna be $50. My mom wants to come watch. Yeah, it's $50 too. So I have to buy $150 in IDs for this one event.
Yeah.
What they're not players. I understand you don't want people running back there and mobbing the gear, but if I go buy an ID, I can just go back there and steal as much gear as I want to. So
pro players that just get random bums to fill pods, those guys get in for free. But your wife has to pay $50 to come in the pit.
Well, I mean, 2 years ago,
we're not counting
ID
that
for my
in.
dad just so he could get our pods, and he got 3 pods, and I'm like, okay, well. Whatever, that was a waste of $50, but
they
made back there. But
they made about $250,000 last year on IDs, just the NXL.
With all the people, with all the family, all the people are showing up to one event. Their buddies like,
hey, I just did one event. I just did World Cup, 565 teams times 6 people. I'll say mix at least 6.
Because you do have the other events that people will only play Chicago or they'll only play Texas because that's where they are. So it's not. I don't mind them making the money. That's fine. Make $2 billion. I don't care, but. We need to look out for the players, guys. We can't look out for the corporations that are like killing the industry. The NXL has slowly hurt a lot of the industry, and you see that with everybody. Like the vendors have slowly got down.
Of course,
I'm used to seeing
$10,000 a booth. Come on,
for not a booth.
A table.
Tent. Yeah, our table. Yeah. What, dude? I'm used to the days where we would walk into the die tent, and it's still relatively big now, but. No, it was like twice the size.
It was a semi truck. They had the semi truck that was open, and there were 2 windows, and they had a tech area, and then they had it was monstrous.
Yeah, you see how big
clubs have those, and HK have those. That's it. That's the only 3 that have it. Everybody had that, Everybody.
It was normal. Draxus had it.
Oh
GI,
yeah, everybody.
Guy had it. Everybody had it, and it's great. It's only better.
Hitmen had it, and they only had
Yeah.
one semi-pro team. It wasn't even a pro team.
It's just God. It's slowly killing the sport. It is just it's eating it from the inside because all these fees. We look at the smaller companies like Under or what's the
Even
other company?
Exalt.
Exalt. Yes. A great company. The Exalt makes top-notch stuff. Like at a good price. But guess what? They have to spend $50,000 for the entire season to have like a medium-sized booth.
How does Ninja do that?
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's
tank company. Like you're starving, and I understand. I don't know what these guys are making at events, man. And I'm sure they're making pretty good money. I mean, most of the stuff they sell is retail. A lot of times, they may sell a little bit of wholesale stuff. Like Ninja, a couple times, you've got to be a dealer.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't see them really making money at events, man. And that's really unfortunate because like you said, this season, Under has been a huge supporter of paintball players and veterans across all events across the country. And Chris hasn't been able to put up a booth at World Cup or any event because it's too expensive. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And how's that fair? Like the guys look what he did with the masks.
Yeah.
Dude made 6,000 masks for free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I have one in the garage, man. It goes to work with me every day. I have to wear it to work.
It's crazy to me that they are charging these absurd entry fees. Like I think what's D4 D3 X ball? It's like $2,200 now.
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Like $1,500.
Yeah. Dude, I gotta spend $2,200 divided up between 8 to 10 people.
Yeah,
I'd say like 8 to 10, right? So let's say 10 people.
$250. $250 a person.
Yep.
Entry. You're gonna shoot 30 cases of paint if you move on a couple times.
That's $1,000.
$1,000 right there.
Yep.
Airfare,
hotel,
flight, hotel, typically 2 to 3 days. You're making these events just too expensive to play, guys. And you say, well, how come Chicago only had 8 teams in D3 at 5-man? They would have 75 if you didn't charge them. I think it's $1,200 or $1,100. However it is, it's typically whatever the format is. It's almost $200 per person to play entry fee. So if you need the X ball, it's like $2,000. If you need 5 people for the 5-man, it's $1,000. That's the rule of thumb.
Let me be the dickhead here. I want to be the dickhead. I play that role pretty well. I don't know what it costs the NXL to play these events. I don't know what the ID cost covers for a lot of the other events. And obviously we understand why we have to have an ID process.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeremy saw him. Yeah. Everybody knows what happened there. With the freaking
Goat, shout out.
Goat stuff, dab on them. But you got to have it. And the NXL chooses some pretty premier locations for a lot of these events, which cost money. I mean, Texas Motor Speedway. Chicago used to be in Bolingbrook, which is in between houses, which was probably a pretty cheap event. World Cup, which is probably astronomical. So I can't say that they're raping because I don't know what they're paying. And I know they're paying a lot. I know Brian Cole's paying a lot of money. Tom Cole. Brian Cole, BC. Tom Cole's paying a lot of money out of pocket for what he, gets. And I'm sure he's making a wage. I get it. But it wasn't always like this. I would rather them pick austere environments that are close to, nice stuff than choose super nice venues and charge out the ass for players to play when, not a lot of teams can afford to play a whole series.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the small series, do they need an ID card? You just played the CPSL.
I played CPSL.
And they did not have IDs.
You just have an ID, and you go, "Hey, this is my ID from every single series I've ever had." He didn't even look at that. He said, "You got a driver's license, or any? They'll use your APD, military driver's license." Listen, it's not that serious.
So solution. That's what they do. You check in with your ID card, and they give you something.
Yeah, even if it costs $20, $30,
a
you know what I mean?
A choker, a ball gag, something crazy that says, "Hey, look, I'm checked in. This is who I am. Go check the desk."
But
I have go to the desk and check that I checked in with my team name.
But let's be honest. When's the last time you've had your ID checked on the field?
I think I've had it once in 10 years.
World Cup we did last year. Last year they checked.
Well, a lot of times
not
they
this year.
check it when you
Remember
walk on the
Millennium
first.
judges. Remember the Millennium refs? They were checking a lot. I
Yeah.
think they checked like 3 or 4 times that day.
So what? And how about before that? You don't really remember.
It back in the day used to be like a really big thing, but
Yeah.
So we're checking tanks for expiration dates.
Yeah, I have dudes on my line that got tanks that have been on a hydro for 3 years.
And I'm standing next to him, filling up, going, "Oh boy,
yeah,
is this
right next to my
today?"
face. Like, oh my
The tank's
god.
gonna explode. It's gonna burst.
I know, but it's one of those things.
For sure. Like, yeah, back when I was playing PSP 5-man, bruh, they checked your tank every time you went on the field because it was a big deal. But it's just not in the card. That's another topic though. But regardless, the ID thing, I 100% agree why they have it. I believe.
Yes, I do too. You have to have some sort of identification.
You got to consolidate it, boys. You got to take it all and put it into one and say, hey, look, even charge me $150 a season. I don't care. But making me pay $50 to $60 every series, but now it's even worse because there's like 50 series in the country.
Yeah.
Back then there was like CFOA, PSP, NPPL,
NPPL.
Yeah, there was like 10 major.
But back then it was still a big deal because the NPPL was separate and the PSP was separate. I have guys that have played for 10 years in the NPPL and they can come play the PSP for D6 beginner. they don't have any ID. How come we don't have a nationally syndicated, like, I say syndicated, but nationally like number, like 12657, and it pulls up your ID. Well, you play NPL, PSP. No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't do Millennium.
Doesn't?
Yeah, APPA goes on Millennium. Yeah.
Sorry. All right. It does Millennium, but the ranking system is completely different in Millennium than it is here. They have guys that play semi-pro in Millennium that come to the here, and they're ranked D3 or 4. The system is completely it's completely different. But NPPL,
I don't think it's like that anymore. I think that was a long time ago.
It's still like that. It's still like that. The Millennium was completely different, but the NPPL never had its own system. They weren't on the same IDs because Frank has played a lot of NPPL and has 0 events on them. You play NPPL. I play NPPL. Do you have any of those on your record right now? No. They're not there. I know they're not there because I don't have.
I know Chuck's is weird too with him coming from playing the Millennium series. I've noticed where he had no ranking, and I was like, well, that's weird. Chuck's told me about all these tournaments he's played. And
yes,
he has.
They don't exist.
So I guess that makes sense. I thought they just got purged. That was what I assumed because I know I'm missing some of my events as well.
That's weird because all my NPV, I haven't even thought about that.
They're not there, dude. I'm telling you, it wasn't the same system. Everybody says the APPA. I believe it was a different system. The NPPL used its own ranking system. And that was some of the thing is the guys that played PL and played PSP, you had different IDs. So,
interesting.
It's
so that would have been even worse, like you said, back in the day where you would have had your APPA one and then your NPPL, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it was called, but
yeah, it's it's just different. But I mean, I
think
like
most of my events from
they're all gone, dude. They're not there. That's what I'm telling you. They're not. I know everybody's that we play with. I know everybody's ranking. They're not there.
Yeah, all my NPPL stuff's gone.
It's not there. You had your own ID. But the coming back to the affordable paintball series, some of these smaller events are getting very affordable. Like these, just PSL this weekend. I don't know them. I'm not broadcasting for them, so they're not paying me to say this, but it was relatively cheap for entry fee. The paint was shot really well, and it was super cheap. Didn't have to buy IDs. Like that's why I found out about that event in the last minute and was like, "Hey, let's just go play it." It's like $70 more than a practice would be typically. Drive 4 hours and we go play a practice.
Well, that brings you back to it. If you would play more events too. If you didn't have to go, you could hop in and play this series. So. In a way, you give up the $50-$60 for the ID, but you're going to take in the $250 from the team coming in.
Yes.
And you just bring in, so now you're going to bring 2 teams, and that covers the cost of what your IDs would have cost.
Yep.
So,
like here it is. It says, not to cut you off, but just so we're there. The NPPL is proud to announce the release of a new registration software program website to manage and control team and player registration, player rankings, and other tournament data. That was 2011.
Yeah.
Interesting.
2011, NPPL separated from paintball players. They said, hey, we're going to come out with our own. That's why. But you can't even look at it. Like even if you go to the national paintballplayers.com, you go to the actual thing, it's a GoDaddy site. Doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
Oh, hey.
yeah, that's a hot mess there.
Yeah.
So there's
It's wild to me to think that these events they're like, oh, paintball's dying in the NXL, and I keep bringing in NXL. I'm portraying them as like the monsters, but they're the biggest. They're like the father of.
That's going to
paintball.
happen to any company that's kind of taking charge and taking lead. I mean,
Yeah.
Monopoly costs,
and not in a bad way, but
well, I mean,
it happens.
I like the NXL. I mean, it's not bad. I guess I've had my fair share of bad things with the NXL, but I feel that it should be like that should be what we all look up to.
Yeah.
When they are killing people left and right, I'm like, dude, you can't charge these teams $2,200 entry fee when they're paying $300 a person to fly there, then $100 for a hotel room per night for 2 to 3 nights. You know, you play Cup for X-Ball, you get there Wednesday or Thursday. You play Thursday, you play Friday, and sometimes you play Saturday. And if you're any good, you play Sunday. I have to buy 3-4 nights at a hotel room plus the flight there. Plus, dude, I'm spending $200 a person.
Yeah.
That's insane. But they're gonna have to figure out something, dude. Something soon to help the player, especially with all this stuff going on now. Granted, the events aren't really going off right now, but if you want to bring the players back and you want to like look out for the player,
start with your ID.
Start with the IDs, right? And start with the entries. So you're not giving us prizes. You're not giving us $1 million prizes. You're giving us like a voucher to play in Eclipse that you probably made them pay for you anyways.
Yeah. You're using their money for their booth to pay you back and say, there you go.
Because we topped in in 04 Cup, and they gave us like $2,500 in vouchers. I'm like, vouchers? Like, now granted, it wasn't that expensive back then, so it wasn't terrible, but I think they still give a little bit of cash prize now and vouchers again, or I'm not really sure how
it's all cash now.
Is it all cash now?
It's all cash now, yeah.
But it's like pennies on the dollar.
Compared to what you will play, yeah.
Well, you don't even it doesn't even cover.
But the NXL isn't about paint. It's about playing paintball. They don't get anything from the paint.
That's very true too.
But believe me, I know.
We get what you're saying.
You're gonna tell me that they're charging GI probably $100,000 to come to that event with their truck. They're making the paint.
Sure, because they're not only are they making the paint, but they have product too. But I'm telling you, like, their thought is, hey, this is your entry. Whatever you spend on paint is what you spend on paint. You play mechanical, you shoot 5 cases, or you play semi-pro and you shoot 800 cases. That's not my fault. I'm going to provide it to you.
I mean,
if your team only shoots,
but you have to. If you want more teams, they're traveling. You should have played the whole series. I couldn't afford to spend $1,000 or $1,200 a person per event
every 3 months.
This comes down to layout too. And that's a completely other topic that we could talk about. Eventually, is that the layouts now are built for more paint. And the NXL is built now to get money out of you. That's all it is. They want more money out of you, and I understand it's a business, but
scam.
Can you say it again for the people in the back, please?
Yeah, it's a scam.
They're sleeping.
So
I understand. ID card.
It just makes me mad. It makes me mad. I just feel like
I agree.
You look out for the player. You want to grow the sport because they want to grow the sport. Grow the sport. Help us out. Look out for us. Because we're the ones helping you. If we decide to make up our own event, which I do see there's a couple events called like for the player that they're trying to do this. They're trying to drop the entry and drop the paint. Like they can do it. The MVPS is getting around to it. If the MVPS could knock the case back to like $5, $10 a case cheaper, which they definitely could, but they're not making $1 million in the entry fee. So they have to make their money somewhere, right? It's not that bad. But you play these, you want these teams to come and travel all over the world. People want to do it. People want to travel.
Remember the tournaments back in the day where you play entry and you bring your own paint?
Yeah.
Bring your own paint, guys.
I'm not bringing white box, you know what I'm saying? But you could. You want to bring $15 paint? Sure, no problem. But that was okay.
Yep. So
Nazis, man.
I guess in closing, work on your IDs. A little lower the cost.
Help the players. Listen up. Help the players. We are your money. You want to make more money? Help us. We'll bring more people. We'll bring more teams. If I can only afford to put my main team in because you are charging too much for my other 2 teams that play a little bit, but not as serious as we do, but they want to experience World Cup and they want to experience maybe Richmond, Virginia, drop the entry fee and they'll come up and they'll enjoy that one big event.
A couple $100. Really, it's what it comes down to. You drop it from 2,000 to 1,600, 1,500,
Nah,
$500.
$1,000.
Well, for 5 men.
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm more with
Right,
Johnny.
I'm
I think you could get away with dropping $200-$300. I think you'll see big improvements just with that.
I think just like
$500 bare minimum. If you're bringing in 600 teams,
so think about
look at the entry fee to World Cup.
think about
$300.
$300. Think about $300. You're talking about 10 cases of paint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
no.
know, in retrospect.
Listen, but
even if they started small, they said, "Hey, look, this year we're gonna cut entry fee back 15%." Oh,
That's what it'll perk the interest.
25% cut, bare minimum.
it depends on the
It's not
event,
that much. It's not that much. You're still making $1,500 on a D4 Expo team.
Well, you still have to look at the expenses. Like I don't think they just
Look how many.
I don't think they just shit out these numbers and said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna charge you."
That's exactly what they do. But so, I
I
mean,
don't think so either.
Michael, you know what I'm talking about, man. Like,
but with lower entry fees is more teams, right? So you're losing money on the front end, but you're making it on the back end. It's still there.
I mean, a lot of what we're doing here is speculating. We don't even know what they pay for land.
That's what I was
what
saying
they
earlier.
pay
I'm like,
for,
their fees could be
refs.
astronomical.
I mean, I've seen these numbers. Damian Ryan has put all these numbers out when he was going
bananas.
back and forth. Yes, right. He put all these numbers out. He had access to all these numbers. Knew what they paid. Knew what they paid the refs. Knew what they had for the fields. You know, dude, for as much money they're playing, look at the fields we're playing on, holes and like this and like I'm like $2,000. I could go in my backyard and it's a better field.
It's almost as if like people that don't know video games are making video games.
Yeah.
It's like y'all play paintball? Y'all ever play on a field that was flat? Because I mean I know at least 20 areas around my area that we could set this whole thing up and I could slide for days on the same flat level land. But you gotta do
So
take care of the players, guys. Take care.
of the players.
Help us out.
That's what it is.
Help us out.
Hey guys, again, I appreciate you guys having me on here.
You're not coming back this time. You're done. You're
no
not coming
problem.
back. We're getting your ass out of here.
Was it funny interruption?
Yeah, red flag. You're done.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Always good conversations, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank everyone for listening, and we'll hope you guys will check us out for the next one.
See you guys.
See ya.